Oh, I need a pen. Every single day, I do not have. Okay. So we're doing some rounding. The first number is 0.43, or 0.43, I shouldn't say point. Okay, we need the whole number. The whole number is this column, correct? I look to the right of it. Is it 5 or higher? So this would just stay the same and the rest would go away, correct? So it's just 0. 2, 6.02. Wants the nearest tenth. 10 has 1 0. So if it's the nearest tenth, look here. Look one back. Is that 5 or higher? No, so it just goes away. And I'm left with 6.0. Now, if you put 6, would you be right on a test? No. It's a numeric response bubble that goes through a sheet on the diploma. Like it puts on a sheet, and the sheet just goes through a computer like this. Shoop. And then there's no like person with a heart who's like, oh, 6 and 6.0 are the same thing. They're not. It's a computer. It accepts 6.0. Okay, so we have to make sure we round properly. All right. 3, 6.651, and it wants to the whole number. So I look here at the whole number. I look one back. Is that 5 or higher? Yes, so the 6 becomes a 7, and the rest goes away. 4, 0.202, and it says hundredth. So this is the hundredth spot. Look one behind. Is that 5 or higher? No, so it stays the same, and the rest goes away. So I'm going to get 0.20. 5, 7.22, and it says whole number. So I look at the whole number. I don't know why that just switched not out of blue. Try again. Whole number, look one to the right. I love technology sometimes. Is that 5 or higher? No, so it stays as 7 and the rest goes away. 6, 0.660. Says tenth, so 1 decimal place. Look to the right, is it 5 or higher? Yes, so the 6 becomes a 7 and the rest goes away. 7, 8.28. Tenth is the first decimal place. Look one to the right, is that 5 or higher? Yes, so the 2 becomes a 3 and the rest goes away. 8, 9.87. Whole number. So I look here. Is the 8 5 or higher? Yes, so the 9 becomes a 10. 9, 7.0760. It wants hundredth. Hundredth has 2 zeros, so it's 2 decimal places. Is 6 5 or higher? Yes, so the 7 becomes an 8, and the rest goes away. 10, 3.629. And it wants it to the 10th. So here, look one behind. 2 is not 5 or higher, so the 6 stays as 6, and I get 3.6, and the rest goes away. 11, 7.8625, 7.86, no 25, 865. Whole number is a 7. I look behind it. Is that 5 or higher? Yes, so the 7 becomes a 8, and the rest goes away. 12, 5.2812, nope, 2182, and I want 1,000. 1,000 has 3 zeros in it, so it's the third decimal place. I look to the right, that is less than 5, so the 8 stays and the rest goes away, so I get 5.218. So anything behind what you rounded always just goes away, correct? 13, 5.6967. And it wants thousandth, the third decimal place. 7 is 5 or higher, so the 6 becomes a 7 and the rest goes away. 5.697. Remember, the stuff in front of the rounding number only changes if a 9 becomes a 10 and then you add a 1 to it or something like that. Other than that, those numbers stay the same all in front, right? Only the rounded number changes. 14, is 2.9. I need whole number, so it's here. Look 1, that's 5 or higher, so the 2 becomes a 3. And the rest goes away. 15. 4.0. Nearest whole number, I go here. Look one behind, so that's less than 5, so this becomes a 4. 16. 7.46. Nearest tenth is here. Is the 6 5 or higher? Yes. So it becomes 7.5. The rest goes away. 17, 2.39. So that just changed numbers. Nearest tenth, so I go here. The 9 is 5 or higher, so it becomes 2.4. 18 was 3.896. Wants nearest whole number. So that 8, oops, that 8 is 5 or higher, so the 3 becomes a 4, and the rest goes away. 19 is 7.8143, and it says whole number, so I'm here. Look one back. Oh, I just did that. It should have been here. And so the 8 is 5 or higher, so it becomes 7 becomes an 8. And then 20. 9.3959. And it wants hundredths. 100 has 2 zeros, so it's 2 decimal places. Look back, 5 or higher. So yep, so the 9 becomes a 10, and then the 1 joins the 3. Correct? Remember that? So I'm going to get 9 decimal. The 9 becomes a 10, so a 0, and then the 1 joins the 3, so I get 9.40. Okay? All right. Okay, so, like I said, if you do oopsies, no big deal. That's how you learn. So hopefully we can fix the oopsies. So, I told you that if they're both negated, you can do it that way, and some people like it that way. I do not, ever. I find that way harder. So when I see both letters negated, I will immediately rewrite them with the negation outside. And then that symbol does what? It flips. So what is this? A intersection B, or A and B, correct? And what is and? What shape is that on a Venn diagram? The eyeball. So I'm technically saying eyeball. But what am I saying? Not the eyeball. That looks like eyeball. Eyeball. So not the eyeball. So here's the eyeball. Cool. Great. Love the eyeball. Now not there. So do you see how it's easier if you change that to the negation outside? Because then you have your shape in the middle. It's either the eyeball or it's the snowman, and then it's not there. Okay? This one is just not A. Cool. Here is A. And then I say not there. Right? So I shade everywhere but there. Okay? Now some people will change that one to both negated and an and. You're making it harder, right? This is A union B or A or B. What shape is that? That's the snowman, correct? And I want not the snowman. So here's the snowman. And I don't want that. I want everything else. Right? Okay. This one is A and B. How do I know it's and? Because remember, we can make the word and out of the symbol. And is what shape? Eyeball. So I want the eyeball. That's it. Okay, this one is not B. So I want everything but B. So I circle B and I say not there. And I shade everywhere else. So that's why the whole outside is included too, because everything but B. is included. Okay? Now this one I want A and B. What shape is A and B? The eyeball, and I want what's not the eyeball. So actually F and A are the same thing, correct? Once again, we have a double negated one. I'm like, no, thank you. I don't like that way. So then I always rewrite it anyways. So I go A, B, not outside. And this is an and or an intersection, so it's going to become an or. So this is actually the same. G is the same as C, correct? So this is not in the snowman. So here's the snowman. And I'm saying not there. Okay, now remember this, when you have one of them is a not and the other one is just, one's a complement and one isn't, if it's an and, you get the crescent moon. If it's an or, the only thing shaded is not the crescent moon. So is this an or here? Yeah? And where do we not exist? In the crescent moon A, because it says complement of A, correct? So I go to the crescent moon A because it's an or, everything but the crescent moon is shaded. If it's an and, only the crescent moon is shaded. So this is an or, so not A is going to be shaded. So I'm going to go like this and say not this crescent moon and shade everywhere else. Because remember, or means more. So or is a lot of shading, and is a little bit of shading. So if it's or and one of them is negated, you just don't shade this complement one. If it's an and, the only thing you shade is the one that isn't the complement. So here we have B, A or B again. Here's an or again. So the only thing not shaded is going to be B. I'm not shading B. I'm going to shade everywhere else though. This one is A or B. Or is the snowman, right? So we're going to shade only the snowman. Here's a negated one, but this is an and, correct? So when it's an and, I'm only going to get a crescent moon. The crescent moon is going to be B because it exists in B. So when it's an and, I take the one where it exists, and that's where the crescent moon. The crescent moon is going to be in B. It's the only thing shaded when it's an and. And then here we have an and again. And we have an and, it's only the one that exists is where it's shaded. So this time only the crescent moon A is shaded. So whenever it's a crescent moon shaded or not shaded only, that's where you're going to get one of them existing and one of them not, the complement. So let's go to these. This one, the snowman is shaded, correct? So if the snowman is shaded, I do A union B or A or B. This one, only a crescent moon is shaded. We agree? So I know if there's only a crescent moon shaded, I know I'm going to have an intersection. And the one that exists is B. Do you see how B is shaded? So I can't say not B, because B is actually shaded. Do you see this? So it's going to be B, and then the other one has to be a complement, not A. So remember, what's very little shading, it's an and. Or means more. And has to be in both. This one is the eyeball. The eyeball is A and B. Or A intersection B. This one, all of A is not shaded. Here's A. That's all of A, correct? Everything but A is shaded. So I say the complement of A. This one down here, everything but B is shaded. Do you see that? So this one is the complement of B. It's the whole B circle is not shaded. Now look at here. The only thing not shaded is a crescent moon. The only thing not shaded is a crescent moon. Do you see that? So when the only thing not shaded is a crescent moon, I'm going to use unions because I need a lot of shading. Or means more. I need a lot of shading. So I know at the very least I have a union in there. That should narrow it down a bit. Now what's the one that doesn't exist in E? Where is it not shaded? Not A, correct? Remember when it's a crescent moon, one of them is a complement and one of them isn't? So if A isn't shaded, then this one has to be just a B. Which one isn't shaded down here? B isn't shaded, so the complement of B, and then the other one has to be not a complement because that's the only way you get crescent moons. One of them has to be a complement and one of them can't be. Let's look at this one down here. Only the crescent moon is shaded, so I know it's an and because it's a small shading. What exists? Where is this existing in? It's existing in A, so one of them has to be normal and the other one has to be a complement. So it's going to have to be complement. And F, what's the only thing not shaded? What shade? The snowman. So I want not the snowman. And what's the snowman? A, what? Union or B. Okay. Every single little row that's together is going to get one of these. You have to match. Please don't reference, I don't want to read. You have to match the A words. So there's a third of them are words, a third of them are symbols, and a third of them are diagrams. So you're going to have a diagram with a symbol with a word. Okay? All right. Mix them up before you start, just in case your previous class, which is a while ago, didn't. So you don't want to cheat. And you may think you do, but you don't. All right. So there's one for your line. You guys going to go together? So this one, what symbol is this? Or union. Or and union are both correct. Or means more. If it's in one or the other, it gets listed, correct? So I'm going to list 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 9, which is D. What symbol is this? And, because I can write the word and out of it. So it has to be an A and in B. 3 is in both, 5 is in both, 7. 3, 5, 7 is A. This one, we want Y and the complement of X. Okay? So what is in Y and the complement of X? So not X is B, C, D, C. So it's what's in Y but not in X. Remember we can say but not whenever we have that and not. Okay, how many students are taking drama? Does it say drama only or drama? Drama. So these people are taking drama. Cool. What about these 10? They're also taking drama. They have to be taking music, but we don't care. So if it says how many are taking drama, these 10 are also taking drama, which is 30. This says how many flowers only have thorns. Only had thorns. 3. Remember when it says only or but not something, it's just one region. This one, how many students had a dog? Well, these students had a dog and these ones had a dog. Even though they had a cat, they still had a dog, correct? So it is 32. How many people watch baseball? Well, these people watch baseball only, but so did these ones. They just happened to also watch soccer, but it didn't say baseball only. So that's 15. How many people drank water? Well, these drank water only. These drank water as well. Happen to be drinking soda, which is 23. And how many students had a sister? Well, these ones had a sister. These ones had a sister and a brother, but still had a sister. So that's 26. So we construct our own Venn diagrams. Mrs. Lamb's physics class is visiting the local amusement park. She has 32 students. So I put a 32 out here because I know in those 4 regions I should have 32 people, correct? Remember 2 circle Venn diagrams, 4 regions, 3 circle Venn diagrams, how many regions? 8, it's double. Okay, 20 plan to ride the roller coaster. And 15 plan to ride vertical drop. Am I allowed to short form because this is my notes? Yes. On a diploma or on a unit exam, would I write out the full word? Yes. Absolutely. No short forming ever. If you're like, today I'm going to short form. No, never, ever, 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 ever. For you, in front of your paper, in front of your face, totally fine. Anything you're handing it to me or to someone else is no short form. Okay, and then 8 students who plan to not do neither, right? So 8 would be on the outside. Here we would have roller coaster. Here we would have vertical drop. Okay, so how many tickets total do we have here? How many tickets got put in? 35, right? And then how many more? 8. So how many? 8. So how many is that total? 43. Don't all answer at once. Thanks, guys. Okay, so 43 tickets got put in. 8 got put in for people who did neither. 20 roller coaster tickets, 15 vertical drop tickets, which resulted in 43 tickets. However, I only have 32 students. So I have to subtract off the 32, and how many put in 2 tickets? 11. So that's where it goes in the middle. Then I have to remember to subtract. So the roller coaster has to have 20. It already has 11 in it. So how many is this? 9. The vertical drop has to have 15. How many would be here? 4. If I add them up, what should they add up to? 32. And if they don't add up to 32, we oopsied. Okay? Determine how many students plan to ride both the roller coaster and vertical drop. 11. Now remember, if this was a written response on a test, you'd say 11 students plan to ride both the roller coaster and vertical drop. Write a sentence. And then write your answer in set notation. We want vertical drop and roller coaster. And off to the side, I would say, let B represent vertical drop, let R represent roller coaster if I wanted to. And then I could use V and R, correct? But I need a let statement to know that that's what I'm letting them stand for. Okay? All right. Here we have, city surveyed 3,000 people. I need a marker, not an eraser. 3,000 people. Of the 3,000 people surveyed, 1,978 took public transit, 1,494 drove, and 731 took public transit and drove only. So that's just this overlap, 731. Now, if I take, see they labeled it as a P and a D, so I can actually use P and D because they labeled it for me. 1978 minus 731, what's left in public transit only? 47. I kept getting the 12 and then we go blah, blah, blah together. And I was like, noon and 7. Didn't know what that middle number was. Okay. And then 1494 minus 731? 76. Okay, cool. How many of you on the outside? 259. Thanks, guys. We got there. Perfect. How many traveled to work in some other way? 259, and we would write a sentence. And then this one says, how many? How would you write that answer in set notation? So I want everything but the what? The snowman. So how could I do it? P or D? Yeah? Not the snowman. Do you agree? Not the snowman.